Hi everyone. I'm Dr. Cummings. Some of us have met before, some of us haven't. Um, I wanted to reach out to you guys and talk about History 8770, Theory and Practice of Digital History. Because of the extremely serious freezing rain disaster of Monday, we didn't have class the first day. That is unfortunate, obviously, because we won't be having our Monday class this coming week either because of the Martin Luther King Day holiday. That sets us back about 2 weeks in a way that would not be super ideal. But on the other hand, you've taken many classes before, and surely you've noticed that the first day of class doesn't really accomplish a great deal more than go over the syllabus a lot of the time. So I want to kind of talk to you about the class and sort of simulate what we would have done if we had actually met. So here's the thing. This class is about the idea of digital history and this broader concept of digital humanities that has been evolving in the last, 10, 15 years, um, not only in history, but in English, anthropology, other fields. Um, Trying to see how we can use new technologies and new platforms, new tools to convey scholarship in ways that we hadn't before, beyond the sort of traditional um, academic monograph or journal article or maybe even documentary if you want to get really freaky. Um, Historians, as a general rule, are somewhat resistant to change, somewhat set in their ways. Um, Temperamentally conservative, if not necessarily politically conservative, just feeling like we should keep doing things the way we've done them before. Most of the main, methodological and theoretical innovations in the historical field have come to us from other disciplines about a decade or so after they first became known in poli-sci or sociology or cultural studies, semiotics, whatever it might be. So that's just the nature of historians. But we are trying to do things differently. And we've been teaching this class for the last few years. We introduced it about maybe 4 years ago. And it's been largely aimed, so far, at people who are in heritage preservation, public history. There's a lot of that in the class, but it's also a bit of a mix of media studies, traditional historical work, some theory, and also some pretty straightforward skill-oriented stuff involving digital archives or podcasts or blogging or using wikis or other types of tools to convey history. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing. It's a very introductory kind of class. There's a fair amount of reading, but it's also very focused on creating an outcome at the end where the students and the members of the course figure out some type of project they want to do, sort of center in on some sort of platform or technology and develop an original project. We've had a lot of success with this in the last few years, and if you go to the normalaccidents.wordpress.com site, you can see some examples of student projects that have been done in the past using mapping, using archives, using blogs, using podcasts. Very interesting stuff, and I've been very impressed by the ingenuity and creativity of students who've been part of this class in the past. So I'm just going to go over the syllabus very briefly. It's all there. It's online. You can read it. Of course, we'll distribute it in class as well when we do meet. But in the meantime, I just want to talk to you about the basic parts of the class. So it's very participation oriented. This is a relatively small group of students, so it's really crucial that everyone contributes. It's like they say about the Oval Office, there's no corners to hide in when there are only 5 people. So yeah, we're going to be doing readings, come to class, discuss them. Each week, students will need to post about the readings, comment on at least 2 of the readings. There's often 3 or 4 different readings or, listenings or viewings assigned. Comment on at least 2. And also, I'd like you to do a little reading around and find some kind of article, maybe an academic article, maybe a news item that's related to whatever we're talking about that week. So if we're talking about blogs and academic blogging, bring in something that's related to that. So include that in your post. Include a little link, and then the other members of the class can go read those articles. I can read them. We'll all, be the wiser because you'll be finding new and fresh things that aren't on the syllabus. And some of that stuff will end up being on the syllabus in the future because of the suggestions you guys have made. I'd like you guys to get on Twitter if you're not already there. Create an account. You don't have to tweet if you don't want to, but I would like you to follow at least 7 accounts of historians, historical societies, museums, other scholarly institutions related to history, and just see how people are using this platform. I remember when somebody told me that Twitter was good for historians about 5 or 6 years. About 6 years ago. Could not fathom how that could possibly be true, but anyway. So yeah, we're gonna start out, talking about sort of history of media and getting a grip on some of sort of media studies, media theory aspect of it, history of technology, then talking more specifically about the history of digital history itself, seeing how this discussion has evolved in the last 15 years or so, seeing how people have adapted traditional ideas about narrative and historiography and scholarship, scholarly norms, to these different types of settings, like a database or a blog or whatever the case might be. We'll talk about blogs. We're going to have some great guests who are involved in blogging and doing digital archives and working with databases. We're going to talk about sort of the nuts and bolts of how you do sort of tagging and categorizing and making a big, massive information intelligible. Nick Hoffman will be coming to talk about podcasts. Some of the bigger issues, ethical and cultural and political and moral issues involved. Along the way, though, there's a few assignments. There'll be a project review assignment where you look at an example of an online digital historical project, and you sort of write an assessment of that. It's a short paper. There will be guidelines distributed in class, but start looking for something that you might want to write about and just sort of browsing around and exploring what's out there. There's so much really interesting stuff. You'll write a book review for the Videri wiki that we've been doing for 13 years now, accumulating a body of knowledge there that is really useful, I think. But mainly it's going to be about sort of figuring out, as soon as possible what kind of project you'd like to do at the end. If you can imagine sort of producing your own podcast or creating some sort of interactive multimedia thing on a blog or wiki or an archive like Omeka, something like that. It runs the gamut. There are lots of things you can do with this, and there are lots of tools, but it's more about what kind of topic you want to work on and what kind of platform you want to do it in. And then, in collaboration with me and the other members of the class, you figure out how to do that. And hopefully at the end have something really cool that you can, put in a portfolio, something you can show as a demonstration of your skills. There are no required books to purchase. I did mention the New Media Reader, which is a really interesting book, especially if you're interested in sort of the history of media and media studies. It's not essential. You don't have to buy it. It's a little bit expensive. But, a lot of the seminal works in sort of the history of media and technology are in there, from people like Doug Engelbart, who, pioneered a lot of the graphical user interface, to Marshall McLuhan, the Oulipo, Lev Manovich. Anyway, if you're interested in that, it's a good resource, but it's not required. All the readings that you have to do are electronically available through the syllabus online. There are links to everything. Yeah, I guess that's about it. I mean, when we do meet 2 weeks from now, we can go over this again, or probe into anything that might not be clear. In the meantime, if you do want to email me or meet, more than happy to do that. It's about a week and a half before we're actually going to see each other, so take that time to start exploring, start browsing, start working on the readings. There's a fair amount of reading for the first class. Um, and just start thinking about what you might want to do. I think that's really important. And as no time to be wasted in thinking about this sort of thing. So take a look around. If you have any questions, get in touch. I'm sorry we didn't get to meet the first day, but I'm really excited to working with you guys, and I hope that your semester's off to a good start. All right, I'm available at alexcummings@gsu.edu. The website Normal Accidents is on WordPress, and if there's anything else you need to know, just get in touch. All right, thanks. Bye.